RFA board meeting to order for January 22nd, 2026. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yeah.
I don't need to read that into the minutes then. Oh. Public comment. Anything? Living? No, okay. Consideration of the agenda, which is I have adding in post employment medical benefits qualifying date. I'll explain in a bit there. That's new business? Yeah, I think so. New business. We've got approval of the past minutes for December 18th. Is there any changes or questions? Hearing none, we will pass the minutes as written. Minutes for January 8th, 2026. Are there any comments or corrections? Hearing none, we'll approve the minutes from January 8th. Let's move on to correspondence. Nothing? Nope. Okay. We have impact mitigation fee and fire marshal office on the page. Right.
Everybody hear me okay? I'm seeing head nods. That's good. Okay. I'll make this pretty quick. Not a whole lot of change in the fire impact fee report from the last quarter. We still haven't received the fees for the last quarter from the city of Shoreline. So I wasn't able to get that information on there, but we did get some last minute information on fees that we're expecting. Those are not fire impact fees, but just the other fees that we collect through fire plan review and our fire permit fees. So I gave you guys that sheet just so you can see it. And then as far as the building report goes, not a whole lot has happened. There's not been a lot of movement. I'm sure you have noticed driving around, there's not a lot of buildings going up right now. A lot of that stuff has slowed down quite a bit. So there hasn't been any change to potential fire impact fees as of late. And with that said, I was talking with Commissioner Fisher earlier and wanted to propose to you guys whether or not you want to move these to from what I'm doing currently quarterly and moving it to twice a year, because if we're doing these quarterly, you're not going to see a lot of change in information as it relates to fire impact fees. So I'll leave that to you guys to decide on whether that makes sense to you or not for me to provide these twice a year versus doing this quarterly. I also have a goal of providing additional information that we're working on regionally that's going to be more impactful as far as raw fire data, as far as how many fires we're going to, when we're getting investigators called out, and then what we're doing with that information to try and mitigate future fires. So that's something else that we're going to be working on throughout 2026. So if you guys are interested in changing and you feel like it's going to be more impactful for you to get better information biannually versus quarterly, I'm more than happy to make a change in that. It'll allow me more time to be able to provide more robust information for you guys on what we're doing in the fire marshal's office. So let me know how you guys want to proceed with that.
It's a good idea.
It's moved twice a year then.
Okay.
Got changed on the agenda.
What was the other item that you said you were going to have more information on?
So I'm working with the other fire marshals in the county, and we're trying to work on it's a better way to be able to take the data that we're going to be getting from NARIS, which is what we switched to for tracking our fire data, and building our own table so that we can get a little bit more granular. Because we're an RFA and we serve multiple cities, we want to be able to track what cities our fires are happening in. And then, what percentage of buildings are actually burning, what portions of buildings we're saving, and then what that looks cost-wise. So that's good information for you guys to know so we can push that out to the public. It's great information for social media. Right now, we don't really have that data available to us. So we're going to use data from multiple points and then congregate it into an Excel spreadsheet and then keep track of it. So one person in my office will be in charge of going through fire reports on a weekly basis and actually reading through reports so that we can get some of that more granular data and track it. And then that helps us decide, we have all this great data, but what are we doing with it? And the point of that is to take it and utilize it to the best of our abilities, whether that's through providing more public education, pushing more information out via social media, to try and reach all of our citizens. So like historically, we don't track, we may say we had a building fire, but we didn't say, well, what kind of fire was it in the building? Did it happen in the kitchen? Did it happen in a bedroom? So we want to be able to track, say, cooking fires. And if we have a rise in cooking fires through 2026, from quarter to quarter, then that's a problem if that's our one main grouping of fires that we're having. And then we can utilize our social media and our public education group to be able to go out and let the public know, hey, we're seeing an increase in these fires. If it's whether it's single family or multifamily, being able to reach out to those folks to let them know that we have information to help them reduce those fire incidents. So that's the goal. And then we're going to work together as a county when we have our monthly fire marshal meetings, and we're going to share this data across cities so that we can work with each other and work with regionalized PIOs to try and look at this data on a wider level to see where our major issues are and how we can mitigate those in the future.
Is this set up now? You have committed?
Yeah, so Rich Gieske from Redmond Fire, he's the fire marshal over there. His group has been kind of heading this up and working with their city personnel. They've got some folks within their department that help them with the data aggregation. And so they're kind of working on all this on the back end, and they've been trying to see how we can spread this out regionally. And there's been a lot of other work going on regionally as far as the fire marshals go, fire investigations. So this is just kind of coupled with all of that. So we're trying to work as a group versus working in silos so that we can share information and try and be more effective on a regional level.
Can we get a report back on that?
Yeah.
In the next 3 months or so?
Absolutely.
Sounds very good.
Yeah, absolutely. Be happy to do that. Last thing I'll go through here real quick is just kind of a very brief end of the year report as far as what we were able to complete in the fire marshal's office. As far as the commercial building construction update, not a whole lot of change in there numbers wise. Still same amount of projects that we're looking at that are proposed in the city of Shoreline. No changes within the city of Kenmore. Annual inspections, this is the best year that we've ever had as far as annual inspections go. So we had an 85% completion rate, and just for comparison, most jurisdictions are lucky to get above 60% in an annual inspection completion rate. So we're pretty proud of that, that we got all that done.
Any obligation to meet a certain rate for fire insurance rating or any other purpose?
So WSRB, they're going to be looking at all of this information from the last time that they visited us, and then when they come, I don't know, maybe 2026, beginning of 27 potentially. So they're going to be looking at our records, and they want to see who's going out and doing those inspections. And that was one of the big changes that we made. We used to have the engine companies go out and do a fair amount of inspections, but because our lieutenants and our officers are not Inspector 1 certified, WSRB doesn't count them. So you have to have your Inspector 1 certification for those inspections to count. So we took in almost 900 inspections into the fire marshal's office so that all of those inspections are being completed by deputy fire marshals who have that certification. We still have the engine companies doing inspections, but only on R2s because we feel that those are the most important buildings for them to be in and inspecting because they're typically the most complicated, just due to the fact that they've got more individuals living in one confined space in a building. Their fire systems tend to be more complicated, so it gives them an opportunity to familiarize themselves with our larger multifamily buildings. So they actually had a really good completion rate this year. Really proud of all of the work that they did. They completed 225 inspections throughout Kenmore, Lake Forest Park, and Shoreline. So really good work on that. Another thing that we've been working really hard on is fire system compliance. So it's really great that we put fire systems in buildings, but it's doesn't do us any good if they're not in good condition or not going to work if they have to activate for fire or smoke event.
Now for these statistics,
Mm-hmm.
do they incorporate Kenmore, Lake Forest Park, and Shoreline,
Yes,
but not Bothell?
not Bothell. Do you want, I'm sure I could get Bothel's information if you're interested in it. Yeah, no, it's Shoreline, Lake Forest Park, and Kenmore.
Commissioner.
Tyler?
Yeah, I just had a quick question. There's a bill that I just looked at that's sitting down on the Senate, Bill 6040, that has to do with fire protection districts and providing that. I was wondering if you had any information on that or if that's going to have any effect to us.
Yeah, so I just sent an email. I'm on the committee that's currently studying the bills that are going through the legislation right now, and that's one of the bills that I sent an email on. So the fire marshal group within King County is opposed to this bill, mostly because back in 1967 there was another bill that was proposed that gave more autonomy for fire districts and cities to be able to maintain their own areas. And this bill is going to basically take that and wipe it clean, right? So we're doing away with that old language. And the reason that we're opposed to this is because we feel that it's not going to allow us to work like we're currently working together, and it's going to separate us. Where the fire marshals are really moving in a direction where we're trying to work more collaboratively across the region, and we feel that this bill is going to start degrading that that ability for us to do that as it relates to applying fire code. So I sent an email to Senator Solomon, just letting him know that as a regional fire authority that we are against this right now. As far as I know, there hasn't been a lot of action within King County by other regional fire authorities that are reaching out and saying that they're against this particular bill. So they were looking for as many of us to send information out to say we're against it and why we're against it. I haven't heard anything back from Senator Solomon yet at this point in time, but that's a bill that we are closely watching as a group.
This kind of makes me think of a larger question. Do we ever consult with any kind of lobbyist or, for any sort of this type of action? Like, I mean, it's like, what's that?
Well, I help represent King County at the Washington State Fire Chiefs Association at that level. And we have a lead lobbyist named Dylan Doty, who gives us updates on all the bills that have anything to do with the fire service, and we take positions as a group on that. Now, some of it pertains to us, some of it does not. Like for example, Eastern Washington is going to be very particular about wildland protection, mobilization stuff, and all that. Whereas we're lockstep with we're not super excited about smaller elevators and single access points, which is what Justice Sullivan bill. So I would not say that we have us as a fire department don't have direct influence or have a lobbyist that reflects on us, but as an association we do. And the commissioners have an association, lobbyist as well. I can't remember.
Right, still.
Thank you. To champion some of those. But again, some of these things are going to be a little more poignant or more impactful to us than others, because it depends on who's getting impacted and where, and whether or not they get passed or not. So we've tried to put more emphasis on those things that are going to be more impactful. I will share that one of the challenges that we have, and I already mentioned it, is like the difference between what, say, Eastern Washington is looking for versus Western Washington, rural versus urban. And so there's been some movement and some angst from like say Seattle, to be able to champion, the things that are more important to them. And so they're starting to form their own group, they call it the Metro Group. And reaching out to some of the bigger cities and so, like Bellevue, Tacoma, Spokane, places where there might be more focused energy as far as lobbying and legislation.
Right.
It's a long-winded answer, like we do have, but it's incorrect.
Yeah, it just seems like we don't have, as a commissioner group, we don't kind of work on a legislative agenda per se.
No, I try to bring the things that are, potentially up for at least consideration and awareness. But you're right, if we've, I don't know how much real influence we have as a single fire department. We need to get together with like county and focus. And we've tried that too, like having a King County lobbyist focus, group. And I have in past years at least, worked with them directly. You may have heard me talk about not, the 1% increase in property tax as well. We worked at one point with the King County lobbyists and all the Washington city's lobbyists to try and push that, further forward. It's actually got a little bit of traction this year, but everything that has to do with taxes this year is probably going to not get supported, of increasing taxes outside of the general fund at least. So general fund is very much in the red, and so they're taking a look at a lot of things. And in fact, I tried to hit the high points in my activity report of some of the things that are potentially out there. I had to digress it a little bit, but like left wing reforms and stuff like that. So
You're right now, the best representation that you guys have is on a regional level, which is we have a number of fire marshals that are on this legislative committee. And then there's some representation from Seattle. And then Dave Cocott, who's on the east side. He's retired recently, but he's also considered an industry expert with his engineering background. Worked in the city of Spokane for a number of years. So there's a lot of heavy hitters in this group, and then there's a lot of folks. We have Randy Haynes, who represents Olympia as the fire marshal. They go actually down and they do when they can. They go live on the hill down there and provide testimony against any of these bills that we've decided as a group that we are not for, because it's gonna hurt the fire service in some fashion, whether it's our ability to get patients out of buildings when they want to shrink down elevators, or they want to get into single stairs for multifamily buildings. So when these bills initially get presented, their language is like terrible, and us as a group, we pick it apart and then we send as much firepower down to Olympia as we can. This last time we even got King County Medic 1 involved for the single stairs because and elevators. Elevators was the big one because that's a huge deal for ALS and BLS. If we're trying to work a patient who's crashed, it's pretty hard to do CPR when you're trying to go down a single stair, and you can't use the elevator. So that was actually a big deal to get King County Medic 1 involved in there. And I can tell you that when that happened, that rattled the cage a little bit down in Olympia. So.
and I will say too, there are times when Dylan will call me up because he knows at least the things that I'm more passionate about, like fire benefit charge, King County Housing Authority, impact fees, public records requests, anything that has to do with these things. He'll call me up and say, hey, they're taking testimony on this issue or whatever. And so either remotely or I'll drive down to Olympia and testify. I have not testified in at least a year and a half though, on any of these issues, but there is opportunity for us to weigh in. And I don't know if the commissioners do that for you guys.
Is there a website that we can look at the bills and who penned them? And
Yeah, I can, right now we're doing meetings every 2 weeks. I can send you the updated sheet that I get. It's like 6 pages. It's a couple hundred bills.
that'd be great to look at that before we head down there next week.
Yeah.
We've just got a webinar. Do you think you got an email?
I saw that, yeah.
You might
Something
want
like
to tune
that.
in, so, yeah. 12 o'clock.
Yeah.
Ryan, what was that bill number?
60/40, isn't that right?
Okay. And you, got a hold of Jesse Sullivan, why Jesse?
That was what the committee, so he represents our district and he hasn't heard from anybody as of late. So I was instructed by the committee, since I'm the fire marshal here, that I need to write the email, basically saying that, hey, here's my issues with this bill. This was a House bill that was presented the last legislative session, and now it's come in as a Senate bill under a different number, same language. Mm-mm.
I will
And when I have emailed,
get better.
okay, when I've emailed Solomon in the past, I don't usually hear from him. I hear from somebody else in his office. And it's usually, hey, we're going to put you in touch with so and so. And that's about as far as it goes. But yeah, who was that you were referring me to?
Lauren Davis,
He writes,
Cindy Ryu.
yeah, for you.
Trying to find the right guys. I'll try and find the. Oh, there it is. I'll send it to you. If I can from here. I'll send it to you all.
Thank you.
Any other questions on that before I move on real quick? So the rest of this information here on fire system compliance. So we've been working really hard on trying to get down to 10% non-compliance, which is 90% compliance within all of our cities that we're serving in. And as of a few days ago, when I was finishing this report, we are almost at 90%. So when I say that to other fire marshals in other fire districts or cities, they say, wow, how are you doing that? So we have a great team of people. Jennifer Kunkel has been extremely instrumental in spending lots and lots of hours chasing after people and making sure that our compliance engine reporting is correct, which takes a lot of time, a lot of phone calls. But basically what this all says is that 90% of our buildings that have a sprinkler system or a fire alarm system are compliant and that they're in good working order. So again, that translates back to WSRB. They love this information and it makes us look like a safer fire department. We have safer cities. So the city of Kenmore, Lake Forest Park, and Shoreline would be considered extremely safe cities because we're actively going out and making sure that these systems are operational and being tested on an annual basis. So we're super proud of that. I'm super proud of that. Everybody worked really hard to get to those numbers this year.
Please send that out. I think this is a good message to send out to the entire department and talk about the successes of it.
Absolutely.
And also, I think a good message to send out to the cities that we serve. You know, that they're getting some benefit.
What about the website?
Yeah, Michelle and I were talking about taking more of this information and highlighting, the wows, the good things that, the department's doing to make sure that we're, providing safe cities essentially, and good community risk reduction overall. Moving on, construction inspections. Again, these are just kind of highlight numbers. We completed 273 fire system inspections in 2025. We finalized 10 commercial buildings. Most of them were multifamily. So that was really great to get all that work done. Fire investigations, we actually had a pretty slow fourth quarter. If we only have 5 origin and cause investigations, that means that we were only called out to a rather significant fire. So that completed our year of 43. Those are 43 fires that required a fire investigator. That's not the total number of fires that we had. Just want to make sure you guys understand that. So that would be 43 significant fire events that required an investigator on scene for origin and cause.
Does that kind of have any trend over time, or is it fairly random?
So that's the goal with the program that I'm working with Rich from Redmond Fire on, is we're going to go backwards. We're going to start from 2020 and we're going to look at all of our fire data And this is one of the benchmarks that we want to look at is how many fires did we call a fire investigator out on? That typically constitutes a significant fire. But that is one of the benchmarks that we're going to be tracking. So we want to get 5 years of aggregate data, and then we can actually, they say that 5 years is where you start to see trends, right? So we want to be able to provide those trends to all of you guys, as well as, it's information that the public may or may not want to be interested in. If we're trending in the wrong direction, we need to know why and how do we change it. So those are the information. Like I said, it gets very granular, but when you put it on a PowerPoint and you make it easy to read, it's actually pretty interesting. So that's the goal, and that's the information I want to be able to provide to you guys on a biannual basis. So we can start to look at that data every 6 months. Then you can kind of start to see some trends versus on a quarterly basis. You're not going to get the same picture. Any questions on fire investigations? Okay. Last couple of things, just highlighting again all the work Michelle's been doing. She's been doing a great job with her social media, still getting out and engaging with the community, keeping up with CPR classes, lots of fire safety talks. And again, those are really important. We try to concentrate those in our communities where we either have folks that are, non-ambulatory, unable to self-extricate from their homes. So fire safety is extremely important to get those messages out to those folks. And then some of our other more diverse communities who may not understand the way that our buildings work. We had a fire recently in the Paceline building. It was a candle that burned a plant up. When I went into their apartment, they had a lot of other cooking type devices that they utilize on the ground in their living room. So getting out to those various different groups is important to talk about fire safety because those are just cultural differences in ways that they cook their food. Maybe they don't want to use their stove. This is how they cook their rice. And so we're trying to make sure we get out to all those different types of groups. Most of these multifamily buildings, they have very, very diverse communities within them. So, and then trying to ensure that we get multiple languages out too, which is something I think we're gonna have to talk about on the social media side. The city's on a big push with that right now. Yeah, do you remember the PowerPoint that was missing the ADA stuff?
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's affecting us. I mean, it's a federal thing, but I don't know how that's affecting us. So it's something we got to look into for social media.
That is a compliance that.
Yeah.
That is common on the social media side, I think
Right.
later this year, actually, where it's, and it's one of the reasons why we were looking at that website, revamp.
Yeah. So lots of good stuff happening out in the community that Michelle's working on, and she's also been working with Aaron over at Bothell Fire. They've been doing some collaborative work together, so I'm excited about some of the things that they may be working on together through 2026. And then, of course, the last thing, my report. So I was able to finish out most of the goals I had for the fire marshal's office in 2025. Moving forward to 2026, I'm going to be devoting a lot of time to procedures, making sure that we have our interlocal agreements with the city of Kenmore, Lake Forest Park, and Shoreline as it relates to fire marshal services are locked down, and that we've got the right language that we need to have in there. And then we'll be going through our code cycle. It's getting pushed back a little bit, but again, this is going to be a collaborative effort with a lot of the fire marshals in King County. We're trying to make sure that we're aligning our codes as much as we can. And as an RFA, that's extremely important for us because it's difficult for the deputy fire marshals and myself. We work with 3 different cities. Kenmore and Shoreline are more alike. Lake Forest Park is less alike than the 2. And then the town of Woodway is they just kind of say whatever the fire marshal wants with a few exceptions. So we want to try and make sure we're aligning our municipal code language as best as we can. That's going to be a lot on me and you and I working with building officials and then the different city councils. Because otherwise I have a book that has different municipal codes for every city. So every time we're doing projects, we got to go through each book and figure out like, what are we doing for this project? Because now we're working in Kenmore. So if we had a lot of projects going on, it gets super confusing. We got to make sure we're following, that municipal code for that city that we're working in.
Do you have any cases, there's the building code, but then there's the fire code, right? So the fire code, I would think should be the same, right?
The International Fire Code is.
City to city, they adopt different portions at times. You would think, and that's what we're looking to do. To get it consistent.
And the story behind that is, if you look at, a 15-year span, how many fire marshals did you have in each of those cities, right? And each fire marshal comes in with their own thing and they say, I want to do this. And so they change a municipal code, the council signs off on it, and then you aggregate that over time and you end up with a whole bunch of different municipal codes, and each city is different. So that's going to be a big component working through 2026 and 2027 until actual code adoption happens, to try and align some of that work. And then a lot of this other stuff is just inner office things for me. We're trying to get a little bit better about onboarding new DFMs and trying to create some better processes within our own division, improving our training. All this stuff again points back to things like WSRB. The more certifications we have, the better trained we are. It just looks better overall for our department. And WSRB weighs pretty heavily on the fire marshal's office, and then training as well. So we're just trying to make sure we're getting all that good work done, and also continuing workflow improvements and processes. As we potentially look yonder over to Bothell, we want to just try to make sure that our house is as in order as we can get it. So if we're bringing more people on, we have good processes in place, and we'll be able to kind of smooth our way into another city if we need to, as it relates to fire marshal work. Any questions on any of that?
Highland Ice Arena,
Mm-hmm.
is that going through?
I have not heard any movement on the Highland Ice Arena. As far as I've been told by the city, it's basically a dead project. There was big plans to put 2 buildings shared on one podium on that spot, and then their investors pulled out. So it's just kind of sitting vacant right now until somebody else comes in and wants to spend the money.
So that was the plan.
Yep.
So I was looking at this handout you gave us,
Mhm.
the financial handout, and the different permits, these just representative of different levels of activity in those jurisdictions? Or is there something else that, like, I see City of Lake Forest Park is a 0, Kenmore's like a low number, Shoreline's kind of a higher number, whether it's nothing.
Yeah, no, you're correct. It's basically the amount of building that's going on in each city. Shoreline has historically been building more than anybody. More recently, they're kind of like a Kirkland or a Redmond. Kenmore's a close second and has been picking up more and more. 25 Degrees was a pretty big project for Kenmore. It's 4 multifamily buildings. There's a lot more middle housing and townhome building that's going on in Kenmore than anything. Lake Forest Park has never been a big mover for us. It's a quiet, sleepy bedroom community. We might see a couple single family residents from here, from time to time, but yeah, that report directly reflects basically what's going on in each city building wise.
Well, I'm super impressed with the work in the fire marshal's office, and it's always an interesting report. And say hi to Rich Kizaki for me. He and I were both firefighters together once way back when.
I will. Yeah, and like I said, I'm excited to get some of that work done with him. So hopefully emulate some of the stats that they provided to their city council for you guys. I think you'll find it quite interesting. I know I was like, man, this is great. So we'll see about that, and I'll provide a report the next meeting on where we're at with that.
Thanks, Ryan.
All right, thank you guys.
Thank you. That was eye-opening.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Moving on to, excuse me, standing agendas, we have warrants, we have a motion to approve.
I'll move to accept disbursement in the amount of $1,842,372.95.
A motion by Commissioner Heflin, do you have a second? Webster. Okay, and seconded by Commissioner Webster. Any corrections or concerns? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Honestly. Anybody have anything for commissioner reports? Nothing.
Other than that, we had the 101 class
Here you go.
that, in our area, we had 4 commissioners. I don't know what the total number was. We had
It was about 20 to 25.
some from Hockey Peninsula and
Yeah,
Burien and around, so.
Yeah.
You did a good job.
yeah. And lawyer John Murphy,
Oh, John,
yeah, he was very
John's good.
covered the points, moved us along, and we were out of here by 10:30, quarter to 11.
Yeah,
So,
really good.
yeah, it's great. And we got the. Okay, no other reports, let's move on to financials. Anything to know, Chief?
I looked at the things that Rachel had highlighted, so I hadn't seen anything that was a surprise at least. We continue to be under budget, but that was, again, I don't put a lot of accuracy and credence to it. So one of the things I would note that's not in this report though too is that some of the things, we'll see how we finished out with the capital fund, and she's still kind of collecting, all that data for year end and so forth. But we had a flurry of capital projects that came through at the end, so that affected our overall balance. But I also want to bring to your attention that it's not in here and it's not on the expense side, but on the revenue side. I would guess that we probably collected more in revenues than we were forecasting. A lot of that has to do with some of the contracts. While it hurts, like I'll just take myself for example, the fact that we're sharing with Bothell, that affects my workload, and all that. But we also get revenue from that. We also, get other sources of revenue that we're not necessarily prepared for, at the beginning of this last year. So it'll be interesting to see how we ended up there too.
But that's part of the back fees that our Marshall talked about, the reduction in fire back fee Pluto starts to slowing down. Does that have much of a budgetary impact?
Not operationally and not on an annual basis. And I'm glad you brought that up because there was one thing I was going to touch on my RFA activity report. Said I can't remember if I reported out on this, but Ryan and I attended. I think we did. We attended the beginning of January meeting with the city to update our impact fee program. We have a follow up on the 26th, so this next week, which should be a consent agenda item, and gets easily approved to implement all the changes that or not all the changes that we made to the impact fee program. As far as what the growth and the slowing down of construction means, it means that we're going to collect less in impact fees, but that doesn't impact our annual budget. We still have money set aside in our impact fee fund to be able to pay for our LTGO bond for Station 63, and we have roughly about exactly what we need to finish up paying off that LTGO bond over the next few years. Even if we collected no more impact fees, which is predominantly what we use those impact fees for. So, yes, we will not have as much discretionary funds or other projects potentially fund of those impact fees unless we start collecting, and we'll continue to collect some. But it's definitely, there's been a slowdown for sure.
So on page 3, Chief. We had dispatch services, we're down to 1.2%. We still got December.
It doesn't come in monthly. It's a semi-annual.
Oh, perfect.
Or quarterly.
Perfect.
Quarterly or semi-annual.
And then back on page 2, so for the fit box.
Did you put the building on page?
Yeah, I'm going back to that one. Under Commissioner clothing allowance, $750 only covered 5 of the commissioners who did not impact, capture 10 of us.
Good point, yeah.
And so therefore, we're over budget.
Mhm.
It's one thing over budget.
I don't doctor the books are the books.
Yes, well, it was a boo-boo.
I think what I looked at when I incorporated that in was like, I thought that we'd already, that the shoreline had already spent a bunch of the money, so. It was my mistake. You know, if my biggest mistake is $145.37, we're doing just fine.
And then one other thing, on page 6, we have the garbage bill. We're down to 4.9%, but that's quarterly, isn't it?
The garbage bill,
Yeah,
I think it's every 2 months. Do you know? No, okay, I will.
I mean, I'm thinking it is.
I will check.
Mine's at home.
I wanna say it's every 2, let me check on that.
I know ours is due in March. Again. I think we might have paid it in December, now it's due in March again. I just,
I know they charge too much, if that makes any
yeah,
difference,
well,
so,
we won't go there.
yeah, okay,
Okay.
I will, I'll check on that.
Those are my concerns.
Okay.
Okay, if there isn't anything else from financial, let's move on. Strategic activity report, anything to?
Know about most of the things that are going on, we're continuing to work on, I mean, the big project that we have going on at Tech 57. I have a meeting this next week, to meet with Kyle Stanner, senior manager of Bobble, to find out what our status is, for moving forward, not moving forward, you know, what the council, comfortability is. Yeah, I don't think there's anything new.
That's the city.
No. Oh, except I was gonna mention too, I'll wait until my RFA report, sorry.
It's all here.
Yeah, which is right.
Let's.
Okay, well, why don't I start off then? Okay.
Go for it.
I'm just gonna say, at the beginning of the year, I reached out in preparation for the Ledge Day. To all of our legislators to find out what the availability is. And I'm not getting good response. I think I emailed you and said I've gotten one that was. I have had 2 responses, although I did get a phone call from Shelby for some review. So I think I'm hoping that you guys can at least meet with her. But one was like, we can't pitch it until 3:30. And I'm like, sticking around all day for a meeting, I don't know if that's the most judicious use of your time. And then another one was, we're completely booked, but we can pair you up with South County Fire. In a group, combined, and I'm like, so I'm kind of striking out, which isn't that surprising because we're in a short session and they are just slammed. Ryan was talking about there, and I did find it and I forwarded it all to you, so you should have it in your inbox. There, Dylan, when I had my last meeting, he's like, you would not believe how many bills are being introduced, and it's like they don't even recognize that it's a short session. There's hundreds and hundreds of bills being introduced, like they think it's a longer session or something. It's so it doesn't surprise me that they're very booked up, but I'm gonna continue to work on this and reach back out to some of them, if you're not one. And see what I can do, so.
Once.
Yeah, and I will say, but as I get those information, I'll let y'all know, so you can make a decision on if it's worthwhile or not to stay for like a late meeting or something.
Right. Then after we need to get together and figure out how we're going to, how we'll, whatever. Okay. Is there anything else for Chief Callan from his report? Hearing nothing, let's move on to Chief Hookstein.
What's the status on 57 HVAC?
Yeah, so just continued work. It's been delayed by just a few little things, but it is still on track. They are working right now on the refrigerant piping. And that's taking a little bit of time. There's some exterior piping from the outdoor condenser units running up the backside of the station, and then into the attic space in the gym where that's going into the building. That we've had to kind of re-engineer that. That was the original plan, was to go in above some of the bedrooms. It was just too tight in there, especially because they had to do just a touch of welding up in there. So that's been reconfigured, and it's coming along. I can pull up a schedule for you here, and I think that we are still on track to by mid-February to pretty much have that project done. So
it'll be all updated, new HVAC now.
And what about the generator part?
Yeah, generator is on delay because of Seattle City Light. We got everything ready to go, and we need them to be able to basically cut the power, so we can go over to temporary generator and hook up the new gen, right?
Right.
So they have a scheduling delay on their side, out of our control, of several weeks, and as a result, we're lost.
Okay.
So
But it's ready to go.
it's, yeah, the new generator I think I put in there has been set, and the equipment is on site. And as soon as we can get Seattle City Light scheduled, we'll have a temporary generator on site, hopefully for a very short period of time. We've got a couple plans in place to fuel that thing depending on how long we need it there. That will be running the station, a temporary generator. The hope is that the crew can quickly get that new generator wired in, and we can get everything back online. And we're not on that temporary generator for soon.
Yeah, I was asking about 57 HVAC because I happened to stop by to visit one of the medics I used to work with on the weekend, and they were very chilly at the station.
Yeah, so there is one, the lieutenant's office, and one other room, I think lost heat sooner than we thought. We brought in portable heaters to overcome that, and the crews down there are trying to get that. The HVAC crews are trying to fix that one piece to get the heat going in the office there. So.
It's part of our climate action plan.
That's right. Blankets are part of our climate.
That's the long term.
Just put on more layers.
Everybody's gonna be chilly.
Yeah. Yeah. So all in all, though, I'd say by the end of February, I would expect both of those 57 projects to be in a great spot.
I was going through vouchers, you guys are gonna be banning me from vouchers. Why is there propane usage? I was assuming it was from the training consortium.
Sometimes it's for the training consortium. The propane runs are forklifts,
Okay.
Which we have a few of.
Okay. Okay.
Could be, could be too good to purchase it, but I mean, that would use very little.
Right.
Um,
The bill wasn't very big, but I noticed that it was about $4.25 a gallon for propane. That's kind of expensive. We just
I
got,
think that's probably pretty low.
well, we just
That's
got our
pretty low
tank
price.
filled and it was $3.18 a gallon. So,
Delivered.
yeah,
you probably get a full crate though too.
we maybe do. I don't know. I just thought, wow, that's kind of expensive. And I've seen it, well, I guess in Arlington, driving around Arlington, I've seen it advertised for well under $4. At, various places you go and you get it filled up. I was just kind of curious. And then there was a bill for towing for a medical unit.
not aware of what that issue is.
It was towed on December 27th. Apparently, so I was just curious what happened.
Not on my radar right now, sorry,
Well,
yeah.
That doesn't sound.
Oh, I know what that is. We had a Medican lose a tire. And so it did need to be towed back to the shop.
everybody okay?
Yeah, everybody's fine, but we are doing an investigation into why that happened.
When you say lose,
What's that?
did it would go flat or came off?
Came on. So, what we have determined initially is that, we are taking those, tires off of those rigs on a regular basis. Doing inspections of the brakes, to replace brakes, to change tires for winter tires to, non-winter tires. There was one of the, I'm not gonna use the right terminology. One of the studs that the tires, there's multiple studs on the wheel that put the tire onto the wheel. Those wear out after enough tightening of the nuts on those studs. And there was a failure of one of those studs on the tire. So when one failed, it caused some. When one failed, as the tire was rotating, it caused others to fail, and the tire came. So as a result, and again, we're doing a full investigation with a lot of things actually. The manufacturer of that product, how the shop uses their torque wrenches on those tires. Double check that torque, checking the tools that do the actual torquing, putting some visible neon colored tags on the hub of the wheel that you can look at visually, so that a person can tell if everything is secure. We're reevaluating our daily apparatus checks. We're reevaluating the lifespan of those wheel hubs. Again, the manufacturer of them is involved, and so I'm awaiting that report from our fleet manager and our safety officer. But we should have a clear understanding of what happened, why it happens, and how we can prevent that happening ever again. And I think we've got good traction to answer all three of those questions.
It's only first time that has happened.
That's the first time that has happened.
Must have been exciting.
Front wheel.
I was gonna say, I'm assuming because you had to tow it, it was a front wheel.
Yeah.
Yes, that would make it, it's a little bit of a rough ride.
Yeah, I'm sorry I don't have the right terminology to explain it better.
That's
When I get that report,
Perfect.
That was
Yeah,
good.
well,
when I get that report, I'll be able to share that more clearly. Lug nuts and bolt studs, thank you. I brought my fleet manager.
There.
This is why I have a fleet manager, right? So I don't have to remember exactly all those fancy words.
Maybe you need a new job.
But what I do know is that it raised concern with me enough that I did initiate a full investigation again of why it happened, how to prevent that in the future, and I'm awaiting that from safety committee and our fleet department. So
Thank you.
you're welcome.
I was a little concerned when I seen Tony and then he came in.
Yep. There was no patient in the rig at the time.
No, thank you. Well, I didn't describe any details. Oh, it left a lot to imagination. Like I said, you guys can abandon me for that. Choose one of these times. Okay, moving on to Chief Horn's report. Any questions that he's not here to answer?
No question about the acquired boat.
I can answer that one. So we're exploring the idea of partnering up with the sheriff's office, they have a boat that's just down the way here. And collaborating with them on the deployment of that boat. And so in those conversations, they're like, well, we have a boat that we can give you, or at least loan to you to try out and see if we like it or whatever. So we have a boat that's getting looked at. I think, I don't know when they're going out. Matt, do you know when they're going out to, it's like this week or next week, or you're gonna go out with one of the sheriff's office and one of the guys that's in charge to explore the capabilities of the boat. It's not much of a boat. It's but if we believe that there's enough value and enough potential to collaborate on their boat, we will use the boat that they gave us for training purposes, to train our guys up on it. And then we potentially could even deploy it and put it on, winches or something to lower down off of point wells and address our saltwater issue, because we don't have a good fix for our saltwater issue. The flat tires on the trailer that tow the jet ski down into the water, that's not gonna work. We thought it would, it's not working. So we may end up using this boat, to expand what we can do, our capabilities on the water. But we have not made that determination yet. So I'm not super excited about buying a boat and spending a bunch of money on a boat that's not gonna increase our capabilities hugely. A boat will increase our capabilities and it let us do some more things outside of even water rescue, such as like we can even pump water from the water side to houses that are down on the water, if we had a house fire or something like that, or somebody falls down in Point Edwards and breaks a leg or their back or something like that, and instead of towing it back up, they put the boat on the beach and into that.
How big is this boat?
The boat that they're giving us is only 20 feet. But the one that they have just down the way here is 27. They're also getting a brand new boat, a big one that's gonna be end of this year or early next year, I believe. That's like 40 something feet long. It's gonna be on Lake Washington. But again, this is not a huge call volume type of thing for us, but there is definitely risk when you start thinking about. We have one of the biggest marinas, on the lake. We have Kenmore Air, which is the busiest seaport in the country. There is some risk for us, that a boat would help elevate the level of service that we provide. Jet skis are very nimble, very flexible, very quick to deploy, but they can't do everything that potentially a boat could. So we're exploring that option.
Do we have any other, what's our capability right now, like Washington, just
Jet skis. We can rely on the police if they do staff up, when I had, interesting enough, when I had my meeting with the head guy on this, because I was exploring this initially, he led me to believe that they had officers all over the area that could respond down and within 12 minutes typically have that boat staffed and blah, blah, blah. That is not what was told to Andres when he had his meeting, which is that they never were able to staff it up. So we're exploring what that looks like. We already, all of our people are already boat operators. That does, they have their boat operator's license. That does not mean that they're capable of jumping in a boat right now and deploying it, safely. So if we are looking at moving forward with this, I also asked him for the sheriff's office training curriculum program, so that we can make sure that we're trained up exactly like the sheriff's office, so that there's mutual respect on capabilities and all that. And then we can also support them with their dive operations, potentially. So more to follow. Okay.
Anything else? Hearing none, let's move on. So there's no old business. So under new business, we have 2 items. Let's go with the post-employment medical really quick firstly. There was a question by the union body. They would like clarification. They want to know, with the deadline approaching to end the program, do they need to retire before the program ends on 12/4/28 in order to qualify, or by notification of the deadline of 21 giving notification of February 1st of 28. Thoughts? Chief?
Did you see my email response?
No.
Oh, okay. So I responded, after talking with, the chair, I responded back, it was not, sent to me, it was sent to. Yeah, and I was CC'd, so after speaking with Kim, I, responded back to Doug on this, and I confirmed what, he was asking for, which was clarification of when was the last date for employees to take advantage of the current program, which is in 28 for retirement in 29. And so I responded back to him and also pointed it to him at the same time, to please, push any further conversations or questions like that to management. I'm fine with being, it being CC. And then if he doesn't like, our decision or my decision on some of these things, he can always bring it to the board for, if he disagrees or wants to appeal whatever decision, but management of the resolution, it is a resolution, it is an awkward situation where we have a resolution that has things, and we've talked about that, I won't bore you with that, but you authorized me and administration to manage the program that you've authorized, so I was so I responded back to him, essentially confirming what he was asking. So the end of this program will be for people that are retiring in 2059. I also, in that email, confirmed too that there was a lot of support for coming up with another program that would replace this prior to the ending of the program. And that we were happy to work on that, over the next couple of years.
So the response was that if they were retiring in 29.
If they provide notification in 28,
Okay,
they would be able to retire in 29.
for the February 1st.
The February 1st date is that it has nothing to do with those dates. It has to do with we're coming up on 2027's retirement due date, which was February 1st. So by February, in a week and a half, they have to give notification for retiring in 27. It has nothing to do with 28 or 29. But
So wow.
yeah, it was.
So I was
he missed.
just kind of confused by his.
Well, I think what he's. I haven't spoken to him directly about this, but I believe that he was bringing up the February 1st date because people might be like, if I'm battling with other people and retiring in 29, I may need to submit in this year for 27 or 27 for 28 and not wait for 28 for 29. Sorry.
Okay.
I don't know. I thought the nature of this email was a little interesting that it didn't come to.
Well, I did too, but I told him that I would bring it to the board.
Yeah.
We look at it and so everybody fine with Chief's decision.
It's the 3-year notice.
So
Okay, that was quick. Moving on. Next, climate action plan, Eric, this was your project.
Yes, so thank you. So just to give you a little briefing on this. So I recently started thinking about this particular topic in relation to fire service. You've probably been hearing about it for years and years in the news, and just some recent experiences of mine have led me to think about it more. One is I read a book that I highly recommend. It talks about, in particular, increasing prevalence of wildfires and very large wildfires, in particular in Canada. Kind of talks about the mechanism, and just in reading this book, it kind of walked me back through kind of the mechanism that they're talking about with climate and climate change. And so, just a quick review. I mean, essentially, the principle behind it is that increasing levels of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere act like a blanket on the planet, and so temperature gradually goes up, and that is predominantly due to increase in use of fossil fuels over the last century, in particular more recently, and that has weather effects, and those weather effects are extreme weather events, increasing wildland urban interface, fires. There's a host effects that are happening. And so I've also recently attended a meeting at Lake Forest Park. They put in an information center at Third Place that they call a climate hub, which they intend to be a place where people can gather information about climate related issues. And so I went there and learned that and the city of Kenmore had a representative there. They have a climate action staffing person there. But basically what I learned, among other things, is that all the cities that we serve have climate action plans in place. The most recent one was city of Lake Forest Park is implementing one. Shoreline has had one, Kenmore has had one. And essentially the elements of these climate action plans are to look at what is that city doing itself in terms of contributing to climate change, in terms of informing their people who live in the jurisdiction. So they're looking at things like fuel consumption, fossil fuel consumption, energy use, and then also what are they doing to be prepared to respond to changing conditions that they're going to encounter due to these extreme weather events, which in our case could be, we're lucky that we're somewhat insulated from it just based on our geography, west side of the state, and they're not subject to a lot of flooding. But in some cases, even the Lake Forest Park, we've encountered flooding. So increased flooding events, increased heating emergencies, fires in the case at a national and state level. Sure. There's action that's taking place on climate and recognition that the fire service needs to do something about climate. And it occurred to me this hasn't really been part of our discussion, really hasn't been on our radar screen. We are already doing some things right now, but not as part of an overall plan. So we've been, just recently, Chief Oakstein and I met just to talk about our energy. And I think there's some relatively low-hanging fruit as far as evaluating our own energy usage in ways that we could improve that would both benefit us from a climate impact standpoint as well as from a monetary standpoint. There's some other things that we're already doing, such as we're providing increased charters for EVs, which incentivizes or makes it easier for firefighters or other workers to commute electric vehicles. So I think as a large organization that both has an impact on the community and the environment, as well as the organization needs to be prepared to respond to different situations, I feel like it's worth us starting kind of a discussion of maybe setting up a committee and maybe working towards the idea of having a plan where we kind of talk about, okay, how do we want to, what first of all, do we want to do something? What do we want to do? How do we want to respond to this? And I think it's an opportunity for us to both, save money, be a responsible member of our community, be better prepared for the future, and also to be somewhat of a trendsetter, because aside from, like, for instance, Seattle Fire making some changes to some of their fire stations, I wasn't really able to research a lot of things. I mean, I know Redmond has an electric fire engine. I think Bellevue's setting up some infrastructure for that. So I think it's kind of starting to take place.
That got torpedoed.
What's that?
That got
The
torpedoed.
Bellevue one.
They're setting up the infrastructure, but they canceled the order for the.
Oh, they canceled it?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I mean, I
The
think.
technology's just not there yet.
Yeah, exactly. You kind of, for some of these things, you have to wait for the technology to be ready. I mean, like in our case, for like if we were just talking vehicles at a staff vehicle level, technology is there. I mean, sedans, SUVs, et cetera, that's an easy one. 8 cars for medic units is probably going to be the next thing to come along. They're not quite there yet, maybe, but
I think I agree. I think that's probably the next one. I would be surprised if it's not within the next 5 years that we're going to see, electrified 8 cars and medic units.
Setting up the infrastructure for the charging stations and things like that would be nice to get ahead of the curve on that.
yeah. So my purpose of bringing this forward was just to kind of start a dialogue and a discussion on this topic and see if there's support for creating some kind of a climate action committee that then could conceivably work on a plan that we would adopt. We'd have to look at what the implications are for us, operationally, expense wise, et cetera. But The other thing that I wanted to bring up is that I reached out to the city of Shoreline. They have a person who is their sustainability coordinator that is in charge of implementing their climate action plan. And I just said, hey, would you be willing to come and speak to this group if there was interest to just let us know what the city of Shoreline is doing or their plan, how they went about the process, how they implemented it, and so on. So that is available to us at one of our upcoming meetings if we want to have that person come speak. So that's my kind of question. So or my reason for bringing this up. So I just wanted to kind of put it out there for some, initially just to see how people feel about this concept and the idea of us forming this committee.
Well, this is a board decision, but I would be in favor, encourage us to have a subcommittee that could look at this and help develop plans, and then, as we look at some of our capital projects, whether it's, station modifications or apparatus or whatever, that we, use those recommendations to help, when we can at least, be more due diligent or prudent with those purchases. You're right, we have done some things in the past, but it's been kind of I wouldn't say haphazard. I mean, we've been intentional about trying to look at those things, but it's been kind of across the board here and there. Like for example, when we built 63, we discussed whether or not we were going to make it a lead oriented project or certified project. We ended up incorporating a lot of lead type of design into it, but the expense of making it like a silver or gold, it was just gonna be too expensive to do. We'd rather do good, but not have it certified. So we did, LED replacements, the carport that we're talking about over here, there's one, they're putting some solar panels on it. But it's hit and miss here and there. I would love to have a more cohesive plan, not only for, just now, but like what is coming in the future. Like whether it's electrified engines or 8 cars or whatever, and building it when we have the opportunity and we're doing other stuff, that would be the time to try and make those types of changes. I'd be in favor of it. As long as you're in charge of it.
Yeah.
Just saying.
David?
I'd probably let the cities take the lead and kind of follow along, probably. It's not implement ourselves, but.
I guess the only concern I would have is like, what are we even knowledgeable about what they're? I don't
I
even
actually
know.
read one from Lake Forest Park. It's about 75 pages.
Okay.
It's online.
Okay.
But I mean, there is a lot of low hanging fruit. I mean, I don't know, we could cut out one out on Christmas Day with the fire trucks, well, that's not very popular. Well, I know, but it's low hanging fruit. So you're gonna have to make a balance.
Well, I think for me, I'm not excited and not interested in cutting out the Christmas fire. But at least if we knew what the information or recommendations were, we can make some more educated or informed decisions about. And be intentional about where we can make differences or not.
Yeah, I think my perspective is we don't have to be militant or religious about this. I think that, I think we can take advantage of opportunity and be proactive where it makes sense. I mean, I think there's opportunities to save energy that don't mean we have to
No, any conservation, it should be on everybody's mind.
Yeah, and I guess that's what I'm saying too. I agree.
You leave a big old garage door open or you shut it. Maybe we get faster opening, closing doors or something. We did that when we built the 63,
Yeah.
So, no, it should be, I don't know, they drummed in my head when I was growing up. Shut off the lights, so shut off the lights.
What do you follow?
I mean, I can split it.
Well, some of it's just maybe even doesn't even have to. It doesn't even have to be a change of needs. Like you bring up a good point. Like when the bay doors go up and they stay up all day long.
Yeah.
Whether it's hot or cold, unless it's exactly like.
Well, I remember we
68
analyzed that
degrees.
quite a bit, the fast opening close your doors and all that. Yeah, so start with your common sense.
Just becoming educated, I don't think is people, or more educated is, I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, my own personal thought, what about the electric grid? How, is that gonna be reliable?
There's a lot of questions to
You know,
ask.
I have a lot of questions about that kind of
I
stuff.
mean, I think
What's
part
the
of,
reality of it?
I think part of this,
Lithium mining, you know, costs. How much pollution does that cause?
well, I mean, I think part of this is a learning process, you know, where if we have a committee that brings this up for discussion, we can start to address questions that people have about the whole process, you know, before we implement anything. I think we would want to start off by getting informed about what would it mean to us as a group, as an entity, and then, you know, from there, we would make our decisions about what sort of things do we think make sense to implement at what level.
Yeah, what kind of benefit versus cost or loss of doing certain programs.
Right.
I would also say that we need to think about, when you think about, climate change and all that, it's not just the higher heat. It's also the more volatile, more change that we have even in the winter, the storms that we get, not this year, but I mean, in previous years, we've had some pretty significant, like snow, ice storms, windstorms, things like that's a byproduct too. So, and I'll even share that, like today, we had a good conversation. We continued with a good conversation about our apparatus needs and all that. And we talked about 4x4 8 cars. Are we committing to 4x4 8 cars, or are we committed to changing up more often, or what does that look like? And from a resilience standpoint, being prepared for the other side of this conflict when we have the snow and ice storms.
So, and my thought would be, this committee could be, at least one of us, could be me, probably, and anybody else who wants to be involved in it.
No, I'm in favor of you.
Oh, I thought you're volunteering, but also I think, ideally get people at least a handful of people, or, maybe a few people representing the organization. So, I could see like potentially myself, maybe Chief Hochstein or somebody who would designate, maybe somebody from operations level who has an interest in it, who might want to participate and kind of see things from the, firefighter or the operations level standpoint to kind of, because like another thing that made me think about this is when I was online, there was things that I just happened to notice that people don't, if they don't pay attention to it, like at this station, for instance, we have a very large apparatus bay. And if you open up the back doors, the heaters might not turn off automatically. So you might be doing some training, you might not think about it, but all of a sudden you're just running the heaters and you're generating, so those are the types of things that I think, that's having someone at the firefighter level with a perspective of being able to identify things from that standpoint, but also from, have somebody, we have a wildland team, how we're probably well prepared, but how well prepared are we for wildland urban interface situations too? Are we adequately prepared for what we're going to encounter, as those situations become more prevalent in our jurisdiction? So that's my thought is stand up a group, recruit some people, have some discussions, and then we can decide if there's any implementation steps that we want to take.
I'd be interested in that committee.
Okay, awesome.
So backing up here, do we want to form a committee?
Yeah, I think it's good.
Barb, David? Rod?
Don't get too many, you're gonna have to have a public meeting every time. Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, we'll go ahead
Get
and
a
form a
quorum,
meeting,
go.
at least Eric.
And Rick,
No,
So getting things going.
That's right, yeah.
any other commissioners?
I'll do it.
Okay, awesome.
Barb, did you wanna chime in? You had some
Depends
questions.
on what it is, yeah,
Well,
if I'm available,
or is that putting too much on
that
it?
might be. Yeah, I mean, I'd like to know when it is. Get that
Well,
way.
yeah, I think what we'll do,
Don't get a quorum.
yeah, so I'll chair, or volunteer to chair the committee, if that's okay.
Five.
And then we'll send out you know, as we develop, as we come up with information resources, or if there's a meeting that's gonna happen, we'll share that and then we'll report back periodically. I don't anticipate this thing like taking off like a shot. It's probably gonna grow rather slowly.
One suggestion I would have is to think about, when we come up with these ideas or recommendations, that is part of the budget process of when we're looking at our next year or years. You know, because some of these things may cost money.
Yeah, for sure, and also part of the strategic planning process.
Yes.
So we've got Eric, Rick, and I, myself, David, do you want,
Say what?
do you wanna be on the committee?
They'll probably be evening today, so probably not.
Probably not.
I will, if you want more, I will.
Well, I'm just,
So that's,
yeah,
We're good.
got the board, that's good.
But I say, we don't wanna go.
don't,
No.
especially if Mark shows up, because
It's
it's.
in the day I won't show up.
Yes.
So you just do it then?
Well, that's the thing I'm saying, I got a date.
All right, we got four, let's do that, and then
I think,
Adam and nine. Eric. Rick Nunn. Myself and Rod Hillman.
I think from my perspective, I think the number one goal, there's a lot of directions that this committee can take, right? And I think, yes, I think there is a time where the work out of this committee gives direction to the budget process, to a larger strategic plan. But I think it's taking a lot of avenues that this could take and creating priorities, right? And that's going to give direction to capital projects, you know, facilities, apparatus, you know, whatever, sustainability, whatever it might be, right? But you know, we could have some short-term, if this committee could identify some short-term goals, some medium range goals and some long-term goals within the various factors of this broad topic, and start to point it in the right direction. As a staff person that would be most likely charged with putting into action whatever comes out of this committee, I would want to take the time to approach it maybe holistically initially, before we just say go with that, right? Because you know, as you vet through this, there might be some priorities that naturally rise to the top, or depending on funding or budget, become something you can do sooner rather than later.
So I would
So
like to invite you to participate.
Actually, I'm gonna be advocate for not impacting him for 2026.
yeah, I mean, I'm already kind of tied into it a little bit, right? Because we've been thoughtful. This year's capital projects include EV chargers. It includes lighting, LED lighting replacements at a lot of our station. That it includes HVAC replacements. It includes ordering new vehicles that are hybrids. It includes a number of other things, right? Including putting in like circadian timer controllers into our stations to dim lights in the evenings, which is healthy for the firefighters, but also it saves energy when you don't have to have everything on as bright. The lights we're putting in systems that will when there's no motion, will dim the lights down significantly, saving money, saving energy. So, I mean, I am already tied into a lot of this stuff. My bandwidth is very tight. I'll assign it. I could assign it to my VC support services, but
That's what I'm talking about. It's like, I'm not saying
So,
getting involved, I'm just saying.
how about this? I'd
Yeah.
like support services represented on this committee in some fashion. I'm not sure how that looks quite yet, but we have someone at the back door here.
So
I mean, it sounds like you already are doing
she.
the things that you're gonna be talking
Our
about anyway.
first meeting,
Yeah,
we could incorporate your schedule
Yeah.
and maybe you could meet with us and tell us what's already being done, so we're not trying to
Yeah.
reinvent the wheel.
I think
Yeah.
that's appropriate. I think I think there they are.
Is there a cert thing going on?
I can look at the calendar, I don't think so.
I've seen movement.
Well, there's-
I think it is appropriate to, if there was an action item homework assignment from this, I would suggest to the chair of this new committee to send out the documents that our cities are operating under, to give us a flavor of how other agencies are approaching a large task like this, and maybe use that as a template or a guiding document to decide how we want to put something like that together in the long term.
So my next question along those lines, do we want to have the city of Shoreline come and talk to us just about what they're doing? I mean, what it means for them,
Do you mean to this group or to the committee?
to this group? They offered, I gave them our meeting schedule and they offered that they could attend our February 5th meeting. So that would be basically taking some time to learn about the city of Shoreline's climate action plan and how it was implemented.
How long was the presentation?
Well, I think we could probably make it be as long or as short as we want it to be. We could just say you have X amount of time.
I give you 10 minutes. I just, come on, it's 7 o'clock now and we're, not even wrapping this up yet. I really don't want to be here all night listening to the city of Shoreline. I've got kind of a bad taste with the city anyway, and I'll try to keep that with myself, but I for one don't want to be along with the city, how they're doing things.
Well, the city of Lake Forest Park put out on next door or something, they just hired a climate czar or climate coordinator. And so that's what I looked at, and I found they got their whole plan. That is, just you thumb through it on the computer. We can read exactly what they're doing, but it's about 75 pages.
Yeah, well, I mean, some of our meetings are pretty short.
After a few meetings,
Sorry.
Meet and have some of your own questions.
Possible to ask them.
Later.
Your first meeting first and then
Yeah,
see it.
that way.
A lot of their stuff doesn't really pertain to what we're doing. Theirs includes like sweeping the streets more often. Prevent flooding, but then that's their approach on flooding and stuff.
Bill loves it if I was not reinvent the wheel as well, to kind of find out what the city of Shoreline is doing. Well, yeah, I mean, we could do that however, typically I would say this is a longer meeting than our typical meetings. Our meetings are typically extremely
I listen
short.
I listen, I don't care.
I have to
Well,
work.
how does our-
I'll be zooming in, so.
How does do we have much agenda on, or could we pick a meeting where our agenda is light and I could invite someone to that meeting?
Well-
Talking about bringing somebody from Toronto, is that?
Yeah, I reached out to the city of Shoreline sustainability coordinator just to ask if they would talk about their plan and how they went about, what's in it and how did they implement it. So I said that I would approach this group and ask if there was interest in having them come speak to us and
Do we have a sense of how long they would be?
well, I think we could probably give them a time frame and say, please keep it to X.
20 minutes or nothing or something.
Yeah, we could maybe target 20 minutes to a half hour.
We said we're
Well, that's it, how do you predict? I mean, all I've got is a projected agenda of people that are gonna be gone, I don't have an agenda. So. These come off.
If you pick maybe typically the second meeting.
One when there's no new business.
Finance or whatever, when they go 15 minutes on the first meeting or something, or something like that. Well,
We can't do 1st of March because that's. been
we cancel, yeah, I would avoid March because the second meeting in March might be a little bit busier because of the.
Yeah, we're piling everything
Yeah,
in
the-
one meeting.
You do want a second meeting, you could do the second meeting in February, just trying to keep everything light, as far as the rest of the agenda.
Do we want to try, the committee to try to meet first, or do we want to listen to see what the city has to say?
I think we could go either way, to be honest. I think, I think it would help give committee members a little bit of perspective about sort of what is a climate action plan if we heard
I have no idea.
the cities. I mean, obviously, we could also read it, but
Maybe a high level, like a 15-20 minute briefing.
Do it on the 19th.
What's that? Is that the 19th?
19th, February 19th. It'll be at 61, we're all at 61 starting.
Well, probably at 6 months.
Yeah, we'll be at 61 for them. For some months.
Hey. We usually have finance, you're right. Any questions? Why don't we try to go with February 5th then?
okay. And I guess my only other question would be, for
15 to 20 minutes.
yeah, I don't know if we want, typically I don't know if we can put it up, somewhat out of order, just because that person probably is getting off work in Shoreline. If they could go early in the meeting as opposed to go late in the meeting, just so that they can come from their work, do the thing, and then be gone.
So Eric, Mr. Chair, for this committee, if you would set up that meeting, why don't you inquire with whoever's going to come and do the presentation, what time frame would work for them? Of
Sure.
course, we can move them up to the top of the agenda so they don't have to stay.
Okay,
Please email me the contact names, the time, all of that, it's on the agenda. And CC me as well,
okay,
it's like ahead of time before the agenda.
They're doing this voluntarily, it's kind of, not much time to talk.
Well, we've got a meeting.
we can give them a guideline. I think we could give them a guideline of maybe 20 to 30 minutes, and then, I mean, they can tell me if that's adequate or not, or, maybe, if that's not, then maybe what they do is they just come and talk to the committee at one of our meetings. But I think we can get at least a good overview of it initially.
We do have other business to conduct during our too, so we don't want it to monopolize the entire.
Sure,
So, they can cut it down to 15 to 20 minutes. If not, we'll, I guess, play with it a little bit and see what else we can cut down. Okay. All right, moving on to projected agenda then. We have legislative day on the 29th. City of Shoreline on the 5th. The 12th, not February 12th, it's been moved to March. I will be gone on the 19th of February. Eric, are you willing to take over there as your chair?
of this meeting,
Yeah,
yes,
I'll be at midwinter break during that time, so I have to zoom in.
okay.
What time, what date, time?
I'm working February 5th and I'm gonna be at midwinter break on February 19th. So I'll be zooming in on both of those.
Both of
meetings.
those,
Possibly, if not.
As it allows.
If you've got, it need to do an excuse absence.
So the March 12th is the.
We'll get there, okay? So February 19th, I've got an excused absence if I can't zoom there. 9 has got excused absence if he cannot zoom in. Commissioner Admin will take over for the chair. We have a leadership meeting March 4th through the 6th.
Or if there's solution or something.
Yes, thank you. So March 5th has been canceled. March 12th is North City Water District meeting at 61s at 5:30.
Is that gonna be available soon?
I believe we talked about, yeah,
Otherwise, it's not in my own thing.
okay.
Did you say 5:30 or 6:30?
5:30.
5:30.
And Josh has an excused absence March 19th.
I currently have a conflict with the March 12th meeting.
Okay, Josh Pratt, excuse us.
March 19th.
Yeah. Kim,
Yes.
that's actually February 19th over midwinter break. It's not March
Oh.
19th.
It's not March 19th,
No, February 19th.
February 19th. So there'll be 3 of us gone in February.
Who's,
So-
who's the chair of the North Shore? Forget, Webster, yes, okay.
Hold on. We done? Oh, okay, what?
The March 19th, I'll zoom in.
All right. That's a mess.
Well, let me add just a little more to this. So when we canceled the March 5th, just an FYI, we have moved the FBC hearing that was scheduled for March 5th to the 19th. It doesn't impact the meetings, except that there might that, and Beatrice knows this, and we put it on the website and so forth. And it's just in case somebody actually shows up for a hearing. We have not, well, we haven't had anybody show up for years at the hearing.
No, we will.
Now we will. Yeah, and I said it out loud, didn't I? Okay, so just an FYI, that'll be added at the beginning of that meeting, in case there is anything to hear from any of the appeals. That not resolved.
Somebody walked into the station today when I was there with paper in hand, but. Got a good answer or not?
We will do our best to address everything leading up to that,
Yeah, I know.
as we always do.
I thought maybe he was just told when the meeting was gonna be by shore.
All right,
Hey, anything else? 7:07.
thank you.